In the heart of a forgotten valley lay Hollow Glen, a small town surrounded by towering mountains and endless forests. It was once a thriving settlement, but over the years, a heavy silence had fallen over the town, a silence broken only by the wind howling through the hollow woods that bordered it. Legend had it that Hollow Glen was cursed, and few dared to stay after sundown. The town's folk whispered of an ancient presence that lingered in the woods. They called it the Watcher. It was said that no one had ever seen it, yet everyone felt its gaze when they wandered too close to the forest's edge. One autumn night, a young journalist named Eliza arrived, determined to uncover the truth behind the whispers. She had heard stories of people vanishing without a trace, and of those who returned, only to be forever changed, haunted, as if they'd left a piece of themselves behind. Eliza was bold, a skeptic. She didn't believe in curses, only in stories spun to cover up something sinister, perhaps more human than supernatural. With nothing but a camera, a notebook, and a lantern, she set out into the woods just as the sun dipped below the horizon. As she ventured deeper, the trees seemed to close in on her. The air grew colder, the shadows longer, and the once soothing rustle of leaves turned to something far more menacing, a faint, distant whisper. At first, she thought it was the wind, but as she pressed on, the whispers grew more distinct, like voices just out of reach, calling her name. Eliza. Her heart raced, but she kept moving. The ground beneath her feet became uneven, almost unnatural, as if the forest itself was shifting. The deeper she went, the more it felt as though she was being watched, though every time she turned, there was nothing but darkness. Then she stumbled upon something strange, an old, abandoned cabin. It looked ancient, overgrown with moss and vines, yet there was something disturbingly recent about it. The door hung loosely on its hinges, creaking as if inviting her inside. Against her better judgment, she stepped in. The air inside the cabin was thick with decay. Dust hung in the beams of her lantern, and the wooden floor creaked underfoot. The walls were covered with scratch marks, as if someone or something had been trapped there. As Eliza explored, she found a journal lying on a small, rotting table. Its pages were yellowed with age, the writing barely legible. The journal belonged to a man named Thomas Braddock, who had lived in the town a century ago. His entries described the Watcher, a dark force that existed in the forest, something beyond human comprehension. He wrote about how it spoke to him, how it promised him power, eternal life, if he gave it something in return, his soul. The final entry sent chills down her spine. It simply read, "The Watcher has taken them all. I hear it calling me now. Soon, I will be one with it." A loud thud echoed from outside the cabin. Eliza froze. The whispers returned, but this time, they were clearer, closer. "Eliza." Her lantern flickered and then died. Panic seized her as she fumbled for her phone, the screen casting a faint light. In the doorway, she saw it, just a shadow at first, but it was watching her. Its form was twisted, wrong, as if it had once been human, but had been warped by something dark and ancient. Its hollow eyes bore into hers, and a wide, unnatural smile stretched across its face. She ran, darting through the forest, the whispers growing louder, more frantic. The trees seemed to close in, branches clawing at her clothes, tearing at her skin. She could feel it behind her, gaining, the whispers now a cacophony of voices begging, pleading, mocking. "Join us, Eliza. Forever." Her foot caught on a root, and she fell hard to the ground. She scrambled to her feet, but it was too late. The air around her grew cold, and a hand, cold as death, grasped her ankle. The last thing she heard was her name, whispered in a voice that was not her own, as the darkness swallowed her whole. Days later, the townspeople found Eliza's camera at the edge of the forest. The footage was shaky, but it captured something no one could explain. A shadow, formless yet distinct, moved through the trees, following her. And at the very end, just before the screen went black, her face appeared, but something was wrong. Her eyes were hollow, and a twisted, unnatural smile stretched across her face. No one dared speak of what they saw. The forest remains quiet now, except for the whispers, growing louder with each passing night. And sometimes, if you listen closely, you can hear a new voice among them, calling out for help. But by then, it's already too late. Hollow Glen has claimed another. I hope you enjoyed the story.